Welcome to the Boone Podcast. I'm Bret Boone, and today on the program, I sit down with an all-star and a World Series champion.
I sacrificed a lot to come to New York. I wanted to be a part of something special.
He made me a better player, a better person.
Roy Halladay is my guy, man. He was tough.
Welcome, everybody, to Turning Two with Buc-ee. I'm Rich, the executive producer of the Boone Podcast. That's Bret Boone. I'm actually on the road driving from one side of the country to the other, Buc-ee. So my wife and I are driving from Tucson, Arizona to Richmond, Virginia as we record today's podcast.
Yes, the Herreras today are the Griswolds. They're tracking. We're tracking their trip. Where are you now? What city?
Right now, we're about 20 minutes outside of Texarkana. So we're coming up to the Arkansas, border. We started in Richmond, it's been a long trip. We started in Tucson, Arizona. The first day we drove to Midland, Texas, where you once worked. Then from Midland, we drove to Dallas. This morning, I did a tour of the George W. Bush Museum. Tonight, we're getting to Memphis. We're going to go to the Rendezvous, which is the famous rib spot, but they're closed on Monday. But we're staying down on Beale Street. Then tomorrow, we'll get up early. We'll visit Graceland for a little bit, and then we're going to get to Nashville tomorrow night. And then by Wednesday, we'll be pulling into Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah, you do take your time going across country, but seeing some interesting spots. You're going to Memphis. I think I told you about this. Did I play the Memphis Chicks? I might have. But I remember I spent the summer there, 1989, in Middleton, Tennessee. It's only about an hour from Memphis. We stayed at that, I think it's the Army barracks there.
Okay.
And that was Team USA. Yeah.
Oh, so
one of the hottest summers of my life.
Well, Team USA was there. Then they were in Tucson for the longest time. Now I believe they're in Durham, North Carolina, is where USA Baseball is now.
Well, Middleton, there was nothing there. So when we get a free time, we'd have to find a way to get to Memphis for a little night action. So I do remember that. And I think I was in that league with the Memphis Chicks. So I think I forget. It's all running together, Rich. I'm getting old. It all runs together at this point.
So we're going back and forth across the country, and if we cut out a little bit, you're going to have to forgive us. Now, my wife is driving. She likes to drive on road trips. She doesn't like the way I drive. She says she gets car sick. So I said, honey, you want to drive us all the way across country? Go ahead. I will be the passenger princess. I will sit here. I will choose what we listen to. I will choose what I watch on my iPad and my cell phone as we're driving. And I will tell you when we can stop for snacks and sodas.
That into conclusion, you will be the wife for the trip.
I don't necessarily think that that's awfully nice for you to say, Bret Boone. I mean, it's mean-spirited. It's 100% mean-spirited.
It's mean-spirited.
You would rather her get car sick during the trip? I think I'm being a gentleman by allowing her to drive me over 2,000 miles from one side of the country to the other.
Yeah. Liz is a saint. She's a saint.
And then I'll stop and take. I can nap along the way, and then I'm in charge of what we listen to podcast-wise, or books on tape, or satellite radio, or local radio. I think I provide a valuable service.
Well, I think
trophy husband.
Yeah, I think you do. I think you do have some say. I think if Liz would request a certain podcast or show or music, I think she would kind of get her way there too.
No.
Really?
No.
Well, I think
100%.
I think my wife did that. I think that's meaner than me calling you the wife.
No, I'm in charge of the entertainment. I'm a professional when it comes to entertaining. I am a performer. I am a talk show host. I am an entertainer of millions of people upon the radio. I can't trust that to the likes of her entertaining us across 2,000 miles.
Well, at least you're in the front seat.
Well, yeah. Well, if you want to see the back of the car, it's all packed with with my stuff as we're moving to Richmond. Now, we have had some fun. We stopped at El Paso and she bought a pair of cowboy boots, which she was very excited about. I didn't find any that I liked. And then, you know where we went, Bret?
I don't.
Buc-ee's. We went to Buc-ee's.
What is Buc-ee's?
You've never heard of Buc-ee's before?
What is Buc-ee's?
Bret Boone. Buc-ee's is the reason why we love America. It is the world's biggest truck stop. There's one that's coming to Arizona pretty soon, but Buc-ee's is incredible. Buc-ee's is oh boy, it's probably 100 gas pumps, and it's a convenience store that's the size of a Walmart, and they've got everything.
Well, never heard of Buc-ee's, but I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I can't believe you've never heard of Buc-ee's. It's a Texas thing, and now they're starting to move around, and they're starting to get bigger and bigger, and they're starting to expand. They have fresh brisket sandwiches they make right there in the middle. When they have fresh brisket out, they go, "Fresh brisket!" and everybody screams, "Fresh brisket!" And then they carve it up right there for you. They've got probably 1, 2, 3, I'd say a dozen soda machines, all with different sodas. They've got every version of coffee, iced tea, beverage you want. They had a bakery. I mean, it's amazing. And then
Tilapia?
The shopping. No, they didn't have tilapia. This is America. This is Texas. Nobody's going to have tilapia at a truck stop.
All right.
But it was great. People come from miles around. And then they have all this Buc-ee's gear. So people bought the Buc-ee's gear. Like my niece wanted a Buc-ee's beaver mascot toy. My other nephew and nieces wanted Buc-ee's onesie pajamas, so I got those for them. I bought a Buc-ee's cup. Oh, with Bret. It is okay. So you know when you go to Costco, like the first time you went to Costco, boom, mind blown, right?
I like Costco. At Costco, they've got everything. I was laughing the other day. Kirkland is the brand, right? At Costco, yeah, it's like you can have
their house brand.
Kirkland, right? You got Kirkland, and I was confused for a while because I'm like, well, I see they have golf clubs that are Kirkland, golf gloves, golf balls, and the rice brand, and it's all Kirkland. Now that's some some range right there in a product. You can get a washer and dryer, a bag of rice, and a golf club, all by Kirkland.
Right. So Kirkland is their store brand. It's their house brand. But Kirkland, the products are made by the same folks that will make whatever the name brand is. So they go to the same factory where they'll make this jar of mayonnaise, and they'll slap a Kirkland brand on it. And it'll be cheaper, but it's the exact same thing. It's generic. So if you think that and I know how much you love Costco because you can't get crap you don't need. Think of that at a gas station with chips, soft drinks, and every little thing you could possibly want but never need. That is Buc-ee's. And then multiply that times, I don't know, 100-fold, and you have the world's greatest truck stop.
Okay, well, I mean, it'd be entertaining, but I mean, how much Copenhagen can I buy?
The 40, 50 different versions. They had like 40 different versions of fresh beef jerky. They had all these different sandwiches that you can get: hot turkey sandwiches, brisket sandwiches, grilled chicken sandwiches, fried chicken sandwiches. They had sliced turkey sandwiches. They had sausage on a stick. I mean, it's like going to the Texas State Fair, and you can get pretty good gasoline. All right. Was incredible. It was incredible. Right. Now, I am coming up on the Arkansas-Texas state line. So I've been hopping out of the car as the passenger princess, jumping out, taking my photo with every monument, and then slapping a Boone Podcast bumper sticker on every state line that we've got across. Okay, so hold on, Bret. We're coming up to the Arkansas state line. Oh, we don't have a place to stop.
No. Sorry.
Oh no, I can't do this here.
I can't.
There's no place for us to stop. All right. Well, I guess we'll keep the podcast going. I couldn't stop in Arkansas. Oh, right. That's a bummer. I put up a Boone podcast bumper sticker. I did it as we came across in New Mexico. I put it up on the street sign, the big highway sign. I did one in Texas. I put it in a big rock in front of the Texas. I did it in the rock in front of the Texas state line. I was going to jump out and put the Boone podcast sticker on. Oh, now we're officially in Arkansas, and there's no big monument. What a backwards state Arkansas is. Well, that's a bummer. Well, I was trying to go across America and leave a Boone podcast sticker everywhere.
I do approve that, though, Rich. That is something I do approve.
Well, I guess we should get to the podcast then.
What do we got? What do you got for me this week? We winging it?
I don't know. No, I've got things that we could talk about. I was thinking about talking. Well, did you watch the March Madness?
I've watched a little bit. Normally, I don't. I did not fill out a bracket this year, but
surprise.
So I'm not going to act like I'm well versed. I did sit down and watch the Arizona game last night. And,
against Oregon, excellent game.
Against Oregon,
the boys came through.
They start off 20-4. Oregon takes the early lead. I turned it off for a while, and then I turned it back on. Wait a minute. Arizona's creeping back in. Now all of a sudden they got the lead. They got a pretty good lead with about 2 minutes to go. Now they cut it down to 2 points. Now they tie it back and forth.
It's a great game.
Free throws, the whole thing at the end, but it actually made it a game, and they ended up pulling it out. But, yeah, it was a good game. And I'm glad I watched it because I usually I don't really watch March Madness until the Final Four and when the teams are really good. But I'll tell you, it was entertaining. So I'm following a little bit now, only because the little man has a daughter that cheerleads for the Cats. So I was actually watching. He called me. He goes, check me out. I'm 3 rows behind the cheerleaders. I said, all right, but I was really there to see if I could see Maddie doing her thing. Maddie is Mark, the little man's daughter. But it ended up being a really good game. So I'm glad I tuned in. That being said, I'm not going to guarantee with the opening of Major League Baseball this week, I will be watching too much March Madness, but I'll probably dive in and out.
Well, you've got a couple days, Brett. They don't play every day.
No, I know.
So they won't play. They won't play until next week. So it's not going to get in the way of opening day. Now
it's not my thing, though.
I know. Let me go back to March Madness for just a second. Did you see Maddie Stoltz? She was awfully.
I did not.
She was awfully good on TV. I've seen her a couple times on TV. She's the palm line. She's tremendous.
I did not see her.
So University of Arizona, where I at one time had I was the pre and post game show host for the Arizona Wildcats. Tommy Lloyd's first year as Arizona coach, and it was interesting. And we'll tie this into sports and debate. Tommy. His team just gets run off the court in the beginning. Like you said, they were down by 14 points and it looked like it was going to be a blowout. He didn't sweat. He didn't go crazy. He didn't yell. He didn't scream. He didn't fall apart. Right?
He didn't call a timeout. I was like, this is a timeout. He didn't do it.
No. He knew what was going on. He was very calm, collected. He knew his game plan, and he didn't snap. Now, when I'm watching all of that, you know what I was thinking about? I was thinking about your brother, because we get people all the time that'll yell and scream. Yankees lose 2 games in a row. People lose their mind. I know when I did the pre and post game shows for my 4 different baseball teams, we'd lose 2 games in a row and look like we're going to get swept, and people would start screaming, "God blessed Joe Madden better get in there and kick somebody in the God blessed butt. Oh, I can't believe Dusty Baker's not in there throwing over the food spread. I'd take their food away from them if I were Lou Piniella. I can't believe that." And it just reminded me of something that in sports, especially at the higher levels, it's a little bit of a different game where you can't panic, and teams will take on the personality of the coach. So the coach is down by 14 and he's freaking out, throwing stuff on the sideline, and he starts panicking. What's going to happen to the team?
No, I agree with that. And baseball, I think there's a distinction between the regular season and the postseason as well. And we've had managers on that said, hey, you manage different in the postseason with a little more urgency. So I think I played for some managers that haven't changed one iota from the regular season to the postseason. I play with managers that are different guys once the postseason starts. I prefer the guy that doesn't change as time goes on, because I think that's something as an athlete you look to. You look to the skipper, you look to the flight attendant on board when there's turbulence. If the flight attendant's panicking, you panic, right? It's the same with baseball. I mean, depending on the team, depending on the makeup of the team, the maturity of the team, the experience of the team, a lot of times when push comes to shove and it's crunch time, and you're looking for somebody to lock eyes with, to tell you it's going to be okay. Usually all those eyes go to the skipper. And if you see him sweat, most of the time, the majority of the team will sweat with him. So yeah, I was impressed with that last night, the way he didn't call a timeout. He wasn't panicking, and just professionally throughout the game, they just chipped away, came back, ended up winning the game. I thought it was pretty awesome.
So I'm about 134 miles outside of Little Rock, Arkansas, on our way to Memphis. So every once in a while, we're glitching for a second, but we're right back over here. So please be patient with us as we're doing this one on the road. Bret, what I was saying was, I love that. That should be a new term. It's flight attendant time. When you see the airplane have turbulence, and if the flight attendants are freaking out, I'm going to freak out. But if they're like, dude, this happens all the time, don't worry about it. So you saw that with Tommy Lloyd and the Arizona Wildcats, which is a testament to his coaching ability. Now, let me ask you this. When things start going south, and you've been in games like that where nobody can catch the ball, people are throwing cookies up there and you're swinging and missing, what happens inside the dugout? What happens inside the game when sports, things are not going your way all the time?
Well, I mean, there's so many different nuances that go into the equation. I mean, when you're talking, it depends the team I'm on. It depends the personnel of that team. Well, who's the roster made of? Who is the skipper? If I've got Lou Piniella and he's freaking out, that's normal for Lou. That's not going to be anything different. We look at Lou and kind of wave him off like, whatever, Lou. We used to have that with him. Not in a disrespectful way, but that's how our skipper was. You're with somebody else. You're with a Davey Johnson, who, by the way, was the most poised manager I've ever been around, who I played for. That's just the way he was. He was never going to lose his cool, even though he knew it wasn't looking good. He would never let you know that. So in the big leagues, yes, the skipper's always the guy, because it begins and ends with him. But for the most part, it's the makeup of the team. And for instance, the more veteran teams that I was on, when things were going tough, we'd look to one another. And it's for that, hey, we got to find a way to pull this out. We're usually not looking to the skipper. But I think across the board, when you have a skipper that Davey Johnson, and I've told the story before, the thing I appreciated about him, and probably didn't appreciate it till years after I left, he had the unbelievable ability. I could go 0 for 4, punch out twice, strike out in the ninth inning with the game on the line in a sacrifice fly situation, make an error, and after the game, I'd walk by him, and he showed no emotion. Now, on the flip side, I could go 3 for 4 with a 3-run homer, turn a couple big double plays, have the knockoff hit or the walk-off hit to win the game, and I'd walk past Davey Johnson, and maybe he would give me a little bit of a smile. And it was his way of acknowledging, hey, really good game tonight. But I appreciated the fact that on those rough nights, he didn't make you feel that you were having a rough night. He was professional. And that helped. I was a young player when I played for Davey. It was my second year in the big leagues. And I'll tell you, that helped me a lot, because the one thing you worry about when you're trying to make it, when you're that young player at the highest level, is that acceptance. And you want acceptance not only from your teammates, but then from the coaching staff, from the manager especially. And you're always looking for for signs that hey, you're going to be all right. And Davey was unbelievable at that. So I think there's something to that. And I think when you're the coach, when you're the manager, I think you should strive to be that, because I think players really respond. They really respect it. They really appreciate it.
Well, the other part of that, watching Tommy Lloyd's club last night, you had Caleb Love and all the rest of those leaders. What did you see out of those leaders when things weren't going their way? They weren't hanging their heads. They didn't have bad body language. They weren't pouting. They weren't panicked. When you're a leader like that, let's say you're on one of your ball clubs where you're a veteran and the young guys are looking to you. What do you do to respond?
No, absolutely. You do what I talked about. Some days, and this is, I'm speaking from a veteran player later in my playing career. Some days I knew it wasn't going well, but I don't want to let that young group of players that are in the big leagues now see that. That's not going to be the imprint I want to leave with them, because they are going to look to you. When I was a young player, I looked to Barry Larkin. I looked to a Jay Buhner when I first got to the big leagues. I went to Cincinnati. Barry Larkin was kind of the captain of our team. I looked at him. What's his expression when we're in the playoffs and we're down 3-2, and it's game 3? Is he panicking, or is he okay? Does he think it's going to be okay? Those are the guys you look to. And the leader of a team, it's kind of an overused term in sports. The leader of the team is not necessarily the vocal guy, the guy that gets up, the guy that calls the players only meetings. A lot of that is kind of fluff and eyewash. That's more for the grandstanding. The leaders that I respected and followed were the guys I wanted to be like. I like the way he plays, but more than that, I like the way he carries himself. I like the way he goes about his business. Therefore, I choose to follow him. I want other people to look at me the way I look at him. And I think that's what a leader in sports really is.
All right, so go back to that players-only meeting that we hear about all the time. The purpose of them, who calls them, and what do they accomplish? What do they really like? I wasn't that players-only meeting.
Right. I'll tell you, I've been in a million of them. I don't believe I've ever called one, because I really didn't believe in those. It's almost like you lose 10 in a row. There's outside pressure. You got the press. You've got people wanting answers. What's going on? I think it's kind of putting for the most part, I'm not saying always, putting a Band-Aid on a rough situation. The bottom line is it's sports and it's really hard and we're struggling right now. I'm not going to go in there and yell at the team about that. So I'd say 80% of the time they're a waste of time. But I've had a couple. If guys are really in there, you walk through, you talk to veteran guys, you talk to young guys, you have a constructive conversation where there's not yelling, there's not cussing, there's not standing, soapbox type stuff, where it's just real discussion in a calm way about what's going on with this team, how are we feeling, why are we at this? And yeah, you're going to have some people raise their voice. There's a lot of emotion. But I'd say about 20% of the time I'd come out of a team meeting and go, I think that did some good. I'm glad we did that. 20% of the time in all the meetings I went to, 80% of the time, I kind of walked out of the meeting and like, all right, that was great. Now we can go tell the press that we really care and we had this big team meeting. So I think it's a lot of times it's more for that reason, to just appease the outside forces that are constantly asking what's going on. Hey, well, they had a meeting. If you're writing a column, hey, they're trying, they care, they really had a meeting today. That gets you off my back for a minute. But I'd say for the most part, the players only meetings, I'm not going to say I haven't been in some good ones and we took off from there. But for the most part, they are just that, appeasing other forces.
So you had the team meeting for me so I can go on the post-game show. All right. When I caught up with Bret Boone today and he talked about the players-only meeting, they got together. They said, we're going to hold each other accountable, and we're going to start getting back to fundamentals, folks. You can relax. They know that they've lost 10 games in a row. They're aware of they're falling like a rock, but they understand.
And in a weird way, it does appease. You're never going to appease everybody. The hardcore critics out there, they don't care if you had a meeting. But you are going to appease some people. So if you've got 100% of that fan base and the press on your back, by simply having a meeting we might get rid of 50% of that monkey on our back right now. And guys like you, when you were doing the pre and post game, especially the beat writers, that, man, this team's really having a tough time. Well, tonight they're not going to write how we're having a tough time. They're, especially if we win the game after the meeting, they're going to write the scenario of how they lost 10 in a row. They had a meeting. It must have gone really good because they came out fired up and ready to go. You really saw some emotion and guys playing with some passion tonight. That could be all BS. It was just time for us to win a game. But temporarily, at least, you're going to have to play better eventually. You're really going to have to. But in the short term, it really can get a lot of guys off your back.
Okay, so let's go back again. We'll use this Arizona game as a lesson. Comebacks, right? Everybody always hopes for a comeback. It's the third inning, you're down 8-0. It's the fifth inning, you're down 13-0. Sometimes managers will go, okay, you know what? Let me get Boone off his feet. I'm going to put everybody else in. Other times, managers will stay with kind of half their starters, half their reserves. And I've seen it, Brett. There's been a couple games that I've been to where I thought it was lost. I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this post-game show? And all of a sudden, you get a hit there like, whoa, wait a minute, they're waking up. Oh, the other team maybe is letting down a little bit. We got a chance to get back into this one. I was there 2011, game 162. The Rays were down big to the New York Yankees. Like, man, we're not going to make the playoffs. Red Sox are just crushing the Orioles. And all of a sudden, you start seeing everything flip around, and the Rays start coming back, chipping away. You see the Red Sox, I think it was the Red Sox. Yeah, the Red Sox start to fall back. The Yankees start to fall back. And before you know it, the Rays were down, dead, left on the side of the road, dead. They come back. They win 162. They make the playoffs. Tell me about what happens when you're down big and you don't give up and you get back into that ball game.
Well, I don't think, my experience was I've never on a team, or maybe one team. No, I don't remember ever being on a team. And my mindset was never. Now, if it's 14-1 in the sixth, the writing's on the wall, and you can be rah-rah, shish-goomba all you want. You're not winning that game. That's just the way it is. But I've never really had a team or a roster that I saw give up. 7-2 in the sixth, you're losing. It ain't looking good. But most of the teams I was always on, we always thought we had a chance. Now you get down to the ninth inning, and there's 2 outs, and it's 7-2. Well, writing's probably on the wall. It's probably over. I think these big comebacks that you see once in a great while, it's not a matter of the team that ends up losing the lead letting their foot off the gas. It's just sports, and it just happens when the planets align. When everything lines up perfectly, you have one of those miracle comebacks. Now, I've been on both sides of it. I've been on the side where we were up 12-1 in the fourth inning and lost a game in the ninth, and I've been on the other side where we've rallied back from nowhere. Nobody saw it coming. I can speak for the team that rallies back, and it takes that one special inning where maybe a couple things go wrong defensively for the team with the lead. Oh, they'll botch a double play ball. Somebody gets hit by a pitch. Ball ricochets down in the corner, and you get a triple instead of a double. Couple seeing eye base hits. Somebody makes an error. Somebody pops a 3-run homer. Now all of a sudden you got something, and now all of a sudden there's this internal, we're starting to believe that we didn't think we had a chance today. All of a sudden we have a chance just because we had that one miraculous inning. On the flip side, being on those teams that had that 10-2 lead and gave it up. Never in a million years did I ever think we were going to lose that game. But all of a sudden, on my side of the ledger, we kick a ball. That base hit falls in. Broke his bat in half, falls in right field between me and the right fielder. Now he hits a ball down the line. Now he hits a batter. Oh, now he hits another batter. Now somebody pops a 3-run homer. And all of a sudden you're kind of looking around out in the field like, what is going on? Am I being punked here? It's almost like the Yankees when Judge, that inning, and I
Yes.
forget, was it game 4 or was it game 5?
Game
When
yeah.
Volpe makes the off balance throw to third, error. Judge misses the fly ball in center field, which he'd catch 1,000 out of 1,000 times. Error. Okay, you're still okay. But then Cole gets the out and doesn't cover first base. When things like that happen in an inning, and they very rarely happen, once in 100 games that'll happen.
Right.
Now all of a sudden something in the air is starting. Both sides feel it. Like you were the Yankees that night. You're starting to go, wait a minute. It's like we're in the twilight zone. Like, wait a minute, this doesn't happen. This isn't a good thing when these things happen in a row. And on the other side of the ledger, you're thinking that never happens. There's some force out here tonight that wants us to win. So it comes down to just aura and feeling. I've had that a lot. I know it sounds, I'm a far from a woo-woo guy, and I don't think about stuff like that. But
what does woo-woo mean?
Meaning there's forces out there messing.
Oh,
there's ghosts in Yankee Stadium. But I've
but
definitely
there are ghosts at Yankee Stadium.
I don't know about that.
Okay, I you know what? And we talk about my son Riggs on the podcast. We're driving by Bill Clinton's birthplace in Hope, Arkansas right now. No, Rigney had never seen the whole inning of Aaron's big home run for the New York Yankees, center of the World Series, with you in the booth with Buck and McCarver. So we watched it the other day, and what did Aaron say afterwards? Oh, Jeter always told me the ghost would come out this time of the year when he hit that big home run. So do you believe in superstition? Do you believe momentum? Do you believe in baseball gods?
Well, I believe in momentum, of course. Do I believe
in the baseball gods?
I'm not going to mess with them. To say, break it down for me, do I have to sit there, put my hand on the Bible and say, yes, I believe in the baseball gods? I don't know if I do. That being said, if I had chicken for dinner last night,
right, Wade Boggs,
and I have a big game, I'm going to have chicken the next night. That's about as far as I took the superstition.
Would you drive to the ballpark the same way if you went 4 for 4, and if you took the
absolutely. And I don't look at that as a superstition. I look at it more of, if it's not broken, don't fix it. See what I'm saying? If I wore this particular undershirt yesterday and I had a particularly good game, I'm probably going to wear that undershirt. If I had an okay game or a 1 for 4 with an RBI, I probably wear whatever shirt. You know, if I have 4 undershirts, I'd just pick one and wear it the next day. If I was 3 for 4 with 5 RBIs, I'm probably going to find that undershirt I wore the day before and probably wear it again. So that's about as far as I take. Oh, yeah. Now,
okay, you're not going to wear smelly clothes, same socks without washing them if you go 5 for 5.
No, I used to do that with my jock. If I got a hit or an RBI in a game, either one, I wouldn't wash my jock.
So Boone got a hit or an RBI, he would not clean his jock. He'd wear the dirty one day after day after day.
Correct. And you get to about, if you get a hitting streak, go, you get up to about 12 or 13 games. Not that you're pulling to go over, but maybe your locker mate is. Does that make sense? Does he want you to wash your jock?
Big question. 100%. Yeah, because he can smell you. All right, big question. Would Bret Boone ever resort to wearing the rally thong?
I think if we would have had a team that would have it and I was scuffling, I'm not going to say I'm above that. Sure, I would.
Bret Boone
would
wear the rally thong if that's what it took.
Absolutely.
Maybe it was the rally thong.
Right. And now when you talk about ghosts, and now I don't think there's real ghosts. But that being said, there's some weird stuff that happened to me at Yankee Stadium in the postseason on 2 different occasions.
Right.
that made me wonder, like, but then again, during that time in the late 90s, early 2000s, those Yankee teams were pretty darn good. So I've got to chalk the majority of their success up to talent and how good a team they were. But there were some weird things. Some wind kicked up at some weird times. They hit some fly balls that would normally be fly balls. That all of a sudden there was a gust and it went in the seats, and it was a 3-run homer at the precise right time. So I'm not going to full scale say I believe in ghosts at Yankee Stadium, but I had my heart broken there a couple times.
Would you step on the chalk?
I always jumped over the chalk.
Okay.
But let's say I wasn't paying attention. Somebody was bringing me my glove, my hat, and I happened to touch the chalk. That's not going to bother me. But when I was mindful of it and when I was running on and off the field, I never stepped on the chalk. But by hitting the chalk, it wouldn't throw me off like, oh no, I hit the chalk. But no, I always made a decision to jump over the chalk. But if I happened to clip it, it didn't affect me.
What about if the ball's just laying on the ground? Was there a certain way that you'd pick it up with your glove or grab it with your hand?
No. My superstition didn't really go beyond that. I had all the normal ones. Do the same thing you did the day before if you had an exceptional game. Eat the same thing if you had an exceptional game. If you just had a good game, an okay game, a decent game, there was no real superstition.
Well, I'm glad we've never had a really bad streak of bad podcasts, because I wouldn't want either one of us to have to rally thong to come back for a podcast.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that look. I don't like that look on you.
I've lost a lot of weight, Brett. I don't know if you can tell how much weight I've lost. I could rock a rally thong and it would look good.
I'm waiting for you to be an XL.
I'm getting closer.
I know. No, I'm proud of you.
closer.
No, I know you've been doing well. It's definitely been noted.
Thank you. All right. Before we get out of here, let's talk about spring training. Wraps up. We're ready for opening day. We're going to sit down with Tyler Kepner from the New York Times. We'll do our annual season preview, and we'll pick all the winners and the losers and everything else. We'll do that coming up with the next podcast this week. But right now, guys are deciding what they're going to do. What am I going to do with my car? If I'm a veteran, who do I got to tip to drive my car back to the stadium? What do I got to do to find a place to live? If you're sitting on the edge right now and there's a great video of your brother announcing to his young catcher club and watching him almost break down in tears sitting in Arnie's office in Tampa and then calling his mom and her busting out into tears, kind of that fun time for some in spring training. And then there's others that are that last guy, and you got to see whether you're going to make it or not, or somebody else is going to make it, or did somebody go on waivers from another team and he's better than you? I mean, there's guys, and I think I've shared this with you before. I remember sitting at spring training in Port Charlotte one year, and there were two pitchers, and I think both of them were out of options. They were trying to figure out which one they were. The rest of the team had packed up. They had gotten on the bus. They drove back to the airport because I think they were starting on the road. They left these two pitchers sitting there awkwardly in the empty clubhouse in Port Charlotte at spring training, and they sat there for like an hour and a half until the team decided which one of them was coming with them to the big leagues and which guy is getting sent out or released.
Yeah, it's the type of it's the little things behind the scenes that people don't really think about, and that's why it's so tough for a young player. It comes down to apartments, condominiums. Where are you going to live this year if you make the team?
Right.
But if you don't make the team, I've got to rent an apartment in AAA. But if I do make the team, I've got to have a place for me in Seattle. So am I in Seattle? Am I in Calgary? Where am I going to be? If I rent both, now I'm going to be on the hook for 6 months in Seattle when I'm in Calgary. So all these little things that people don't think about. When I was a young player, I remember my first camp, my first big league camp, and I got there. I had no chance. I was coming off my first full season in AA. I had no chance to make the team. That's what everybody said. I was just getting there. They wanted to get a look. I was going to be the future second baseman in Seattle. I don't believe I might have started one game all spring, But I'd come in, and at the time, Harold Reynolds was the second baseman. I'd come in typically in the 6th inning for Harold. We called it caddy, and I would caddy for Harold. But I'll tell you, Rich, that particular spring, it seemed like every time I got an at-bat, I hit a bullet somewhere. And I think I hit 550 or 600 for the spring in very limited at-bats. But the guys like me I was a non-roster invitee. Usually a couple weeks into camp, I would get sent down to the minor leagues because they know I'm going to AAA this year and they want me to get some at-bats before the season. Well, I stuck around and guys started to get sent down and I was still there. Now, all of a sudden, we're getting down to the last week of spring training.
And you're still there.
I'm still there, and I'm starting to get a weird look from the veteran players. Like, what are you still doing here?
Get out of here, Busher.
And I'm kind of going, I don't know. So anyway, we have a 2-game series in Vegas before the team goes to Seattle. I'm on the list. I still haven't been sent down. Everybody's starting to wonder.
Never happens.
No, the AAA manager's starting to wonder because he's like, wait a minute, I thought Bret was going to be my second baseman this year. He's still there. I go to Vegas. We play the Cubs. I start one of the games. I get 3 hits and I hit a home run. And then the last game, Harold starts, plays 7 innings. I come in for him. I get 1 at bat off Randy Myers. And I hit an absolute bullet to right field for another hit. So I've had 4 hits and 5 at-bats in my final 2 games. Nobody knows why I'm there. And I'm sitting there thinking, did I make the team? No way did I make the team. Everybody's telling me there's no chance I'm making the team. I just did as good as you possibly could do on this 2-day trip to Vegas. And now all of a sudden in my mind, I'm going, I made the team. I'm going to the big leagues. Well, I got the tap on the shoulder right after the game and said, hey, great spring, kid, you're going to Canada. And I went to AAA, Calgary, and I got called up later that season. The next year, I was the heir apparent. Harold Reynolds was gone. I was the second baseman. I started every game in spring training. Lou Piniella was his first year over in Seattle. And we got to the end, and it's like you said, where do I send my car? Where do I send my family? Where do I rent a place? Well, I had a place rented in Seattle. I put my car on the truck. They have a truck that comes in, and you pay for the shipping fees to send it up to Seattle. I'm on the team. I'm the second baseman until the last day of spring. And I got the same tap on the shoulder. It's like, hey, we think you need a few more at-bats in AAA. And I was like, the previous year I was expecting it. This year, no, I was like,
it's my job.
Don't you know it's mine? And I remember a handful of us, Jeff Nelson, who was a reliever with us, he got sent down. He was kind of crushed too. He didn't expect it. And I remember we went back to our hotel and we were all kind of stunned. Like we thought we made the team and we didn't. And I'm thinking, how am I going to get my car back? It's in Seattle. I rented that place in Seattle. I had to put a down payment. Now I've got to go to Calgary and rent a place in Calgary. I can't afford this. Back when the money wasn't what it is now, it's like in Calgary, I'm going to be making $29,000 for the year. And at the big league side, you made $109, but I'm not in the big leagues, but I'm paying for an apartment in Seattle and I'm paying for my Calgary. I don't have enough money for this. So those are the things that a lot of kids are going through right now. The guys that are on the bubble, the veteran guys, the guys with the contracts, they know they're going to, wherever it is. They're going back to LA. They're the opening day shortstop. They're the opening day third baseman. For those guys that are young, have the split contracts, had a good spring. They don't know. Nobody's told them yet. It's a tough time for them because they just waiting for that official, like you made the team. And until then, your life's up in the air because some of these guys have wives and kids, and they want to know, where are we going, or should we rent our house? Should we not rent our house? Should we play it by ear? Should we just have a hotel until we get there? So there's a lot of things right now that are moving and shaking. The veteran players, they know exactly what they're doing. A lot of them already have homes there. Or the guys that came over in a trade, they're renting a place that's all set up. They don't have anything to worry about. And that comes along with with what you've done and your performance, earning the right to not have to have make these little decisions. But for the guy on the bubble right now, man, I remember it vividly. My 2 years, it's nerve wracking, and you're just waiting finally for when they tap you on the back and say, "Hey, kid, you made the team," and then it's like, oh, the weight of the world's off you. You don't have to rent that other place. You send your car in the truck and know you're going to be there on the other end. So a lot of emotions going on right now for a lot of players on the bubble, that 25th, 26th man on the roster coming down in the final couple days.
Because at that point, there's somebody who's that 26th man on the roster, now that we've expanded the one extra roster spot, who's either a kid like Bret Boone, who made the ball club despite long odds, and he just impressed everybody. We can't keep him down in the minor leagues. Let's go. Let's get him up there. The other type of guy that's in that situation is a journeyman 35-year-old who's worn 18 different uniforms in 18 different years, and he's just trying to hold up for that one more year, and he knows he's going to be on the shuttle at the age of 35 going back and forth because he has no idea where he is and where he's going.
You know who really knows the answer more than anybody else?
I know, but tell me.
The clubhouse guy.
The clubbies.
The clubby knows, hey, I got to get this guy's locker ready in Milwaukee. There's only a certain amount of lockers in the big league locker room.
Right.
He made the team. So I got to get his uniform. He's a different number. If he made the team, I've got to get that changed. I got to get his uni. I got to get his, his information. The traveling secretary, they're usually one of the first to know. Obviously the manager and the
passports and everything else. Right.
Right. So those guys are key guys. So if you're a young player and you're looking for an answer and your skipper or the coaching staff hasn't come up to you, really keep your eyes on the clubhouse guy and the traveling secretary to see if they give you any. It could be a subtle wink, like
right.
Hey, Johnny,
Right.
I need 4 tickets to the game today. Man, hopefully I'm going north with you guys. Maybe that guy might look at you and give you a little wink. That means you're going north. But little subtleties that you got to look out for. That's kind of a veteran. And usually at this point in the spring, the veteran guys are kind of in the know. They know who's making the team and who's not.
Well, if the traveling secretary walks up to you and goes, "Hey, do you have preferences on what kind of room you want?" Then you kind of know that you're going to make the ball club. Or if you go to the clubby and you say, "Hey, can I get a couple extra shirts?" and he goes, "You're not going to need them."
Oh, that isn't good. But the thing is,
hey, can I get another pair of shoes? Yeah, don't worry about it. You're not going to need them up here.
Right. Your colors are different colors at AAA. But it sounds like it's kind of mean and cold, but it's actually, if guys did that, even if they gave you the bad news, if it was the last thing you wanted to hear, you'd probably appreciate the honesty because then you could make arrangements. You could make the arrangements that you need to make and not have to worry about it. So I think if you're a young player, you'd probably rather know either way, even if the news was bad, just so you could get your life in order.
So, Bret, I guess the bottom line is if you walk into the clubhouse and you go, "Hey, can I get a couple extra pair of shoes?" They go, "You're not going to need that." Or you tell the traveling secretary, "Hey, second week of the season, we're playing in Kansas City. That's where I'm from. Do you think I can get extra tickets from all my family?" And he looks, he goes, "Yeah, I don't think that's going to be an issue." And he doesn't say how many. You kind of know where you're going.
Or you could make it even simpler than that. You could walk up to him and say, "Hey, I rented this condo at Blue Acres Estates. Are those nice condos?" There, you're going to get your answer right there.
Bingo.
If he gives you that, "Oh, why'd you do that?" Or, "Oh, you're going to love it," means you made the team. Or, "I don't know anything about the," and turns away from you, you might want to rethink Blue Acres condos. I don't know where I came up with Blue Acres. I think it's a good name on the fly.
There you go. All right. That's going to wrap it up for the podcast for today. We've got our preview coming up. I'm getting closer to Little Rock, Arkansas, Bret Boone, and then we will talk to everybody later this week. So thanks for joining us on the Bret Boone podcast. See everybody.
All right, guys.